their country and went to Nigeria for safety are still unable to have that safety in Nigeria. At least I think this report from United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee will save a lot of things. So it will go a long way to help a lot of these people, because I believe that from the report, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee and other international organizations that are working with regard to the refugees, on taking care of refugees, will make sure that they provide enough funds, they give enough money for those organizations to make sure that they help these refugees in Nigeria to limit the suffering they are going through. And that's why we keep equally saying that we don't.
Should UN not be looking at solving the problem in Cameroon to curb the influx of Cameroonian refugees into Nigeria rather than giving temporary help to citizens who are there? Should we not be talking about solving the problem so that they can return back home and embrace their normal life, what they used to do before the crisis?
No, actually, what you are saying is very, very pertinent. It's true that we need to solving the problem is the most pertinent issue at hand. But that notwithstanding, we don't need to neglect the effects of the war. While looking for possible ways out of this war, we equally need to be doing everything possible to make sure that the effects of the war, like these refugees, are being treated fairly. That they are not being discriminated upon like other refugees. Because we have realized that in other countries we have refugees, like in Cameroon here, or the one we had in the East region, who are coming from Central African Republic and other, like we have not been hearing all these kind of things against them. The Cameroon government always make sure that they work in collaboration with United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees to see that these refugees are giving better opportunities for them to live as if they were living in their own country.
Amadou Tante, est-ce qu'on peut avoir l'impression avec tout ceci que ces organisations humanitaires s'en foutent peut-être des réfugiés camerounais, parce qu'on voit comment ils se battent pour les réfugiés centrafricains qui sont au Cameroun présentement?
No, the issue is that they don't work. The National High Commissioner for Refugees don't work alone. They work with partners. So first of all, the most important thing,
we have so many refugee camps set up by the United Nations over there in the East region.
Ici au Cameroun, yes, pour les Centrafricains.
Garoua Bolai and other areas, we have those refugees camps around those areas. But in Nigeria, I don't know if the UN has set up, those refugees camps there to take care of those Cameroonian refugees.
Yeah, actually what is there is that the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees must work, as I said, with the country where we country hosting this refugee. And the first thing is to be done is that you need to, for us to look for solution to a problem, they need to first of all know the people who are suffering, the number of people that are suffering. So that's the reason why the United Nations first of all needed to carry out a research, know exactly the number of people Cameroonians that are there in Nigeria that are suffering, that are in fact the refugees that are not having access to the basic necessity, or they are not being treated fairly. After coming out with this report now, I believe from here now that donors will be able now to give to this fund or sponsor this project for them to be able to provide help to the refugees. As we're saying, this issue of looking for solution to the problem, it remains a major, the most important thing there, because if the problem is not solved as soon as possible, other refugees, other people or other Cameroonians Anglophones will need to keep running to Nigeria, where they are not even safe. At least we will pray that United Nations High Commissioner or the United Nations to do everything possible to provide to respect some of their rights, like including issuing of asylum to those of them who are in Nigeria and are willing to go to other countries where they think they can be safe, because that one is equally a human right for them.
Mais pourquoi on a l'impression que le Cameroun, qui est plutôt un pays hospitalier, lorsque les Camerounais arrivent quelque part, ils sont tout le temps maltraités?
Well, that's the issue. Each and every country has its own ways of modus operandi. They have their own ways of working. It's true that Cameroon have really been welcoming refugees from other countries. But the issue is Cameroon. What I've noticed in Cameroon is that sometimes we realize that even the government, they always do things that they know that will have a lot of interest behind it. Because I've noticed that, like what I said here last time, if you look critically, you realize that when it concerns refugees coming from Central African Republic and Chad or other countries, Cameroon always make sure that they do everything possible to protect them to the fullest, because they know that they work with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and other donors to make sure that they give enough money for the Cameroon government to work, so that they can work with them to see how they protect the right of these people. What of the case of internally displaced Cameroonians who are here in Kadwala? They are not being treated fairly. We don't have any nothing like the camp.
What you are saying, they can equally use those Cameroonians to get the money you are talking about.
Yes, they get the money. The issue is that the first thing there is that when it concerns internally displaced person, is the laws of the country or the laws of the national laws that applies to them. When it concerns refugees, it is bound by international laws. So what Cameroon is doing with regard to refugees, it concerns international laws. When it comes to these people, we have people who are not going to school because they lack the means. Internally displaced person, they are not going to school. They don't have the means. I've never heard of any camp that has been by the government in Cameroon to host this internally displaced person and whatsoever. So they need something like that. So there are a lot of these people who are not having where to go. They are moving around the city. don't have ways to go, at least the government should do everything possible to make sure that they check the rights of this internally displaced person by providing them basic necessity, as we all know. Because the only thing I've seen the government doing here is sharing them mattresses, sharing them food and other once in a while. But we don't even know whether they are taking those mattresses to go and keep under the vehicle on the street and sleep on it, or what actually those mattresses or things are being given for them to do.
Il y a une commission où on donnait des fonds aux déplacés internes ici à Douala. Le problème, c'est que on se pose la question de savoir si effectivement tous ces déplacés internes ont reçu ces fonds.
No, the major thing here is that what we have noticed on the ground is that most often when these funds are given, the government, they don't make sure that they send people on the ground to register these refugees or internally displaced persons. No, but we end up realizing that most of those that are registered are not even refugees. So they need to take a lot of precaution. Because when they tell somebody,
can you prove what they are?
I am telling you while we are working, I know what I'm talking about. What I'm talking is a reality. They end up realizing that most of those who are receiving those gifts are not even refugees. Some of those who are working within the realm of the government, when they are staying on the ground to go and identify these IDPs, they take the names of their family members and pack on those things, so that at the end of giving them this mattresses, the rice and all the rice, and the real IDPs or the real displaced person do not finally end up benefiting from these things. When you want to send people, they should know how these things should also. Not that telling people to try to register on this kind of funny way. What I'm telling you is what I'm working at. I know what I'm talking, and it is true, and I have proof to that effect.
Okay, you have proof to the effect. So what is the solution? Because you guys are advocating for the rights of those people who are less privileged. What is the way forward? What do you do so that next time when such advantages or privileges come, the real people who are suffering benefit?
No, the issue is that when we know those that are internally displaced, when you come to issue as well, they need to send people on the field. When these people go, you make sure you first of all prove that you are an IDP. There are different ways of proving that you are an IDP. You actually run from the conflict in the north and south. Most of us who are here in Douala who were here before the crisis started. So we are just because there's a crisis there, does not no longer mean that we are IDPs. IDPs, internally displaced persons, are those that have voluntarily lived there, the place and come here because of the war. There are people here who were employed, who were having their businesses that were doing up there, and when the crisis escalated, there was no possible way for them to continue going about their normal activities. They forcefully decided, out of the threat or out of the terror on the land in the Ankara region, to come to Douala here or to other part of the country for safety.
Okay, and the Municipal Updates newspaper this morning is telling us that there was a planned attack on Akwaya village in the southwest region. The planned attack was exposed. The Ambazonians were exposed, and finally the attack did not happen as planned by those Ambazonians. When you read a headline like that, after the Manfi district hospital that was burnt down, what is really running through your mind?
Yeah, well, you know that during something like a conflict as such, we always have all types of funny things, because you know that one of the highest things that we have noticed that have been taking a scale in this issue is that there's a lot of blame game on the field. So all the camp, each and every one, the group of the government.
This is a newspaper, and journalists are independent.
No, I'm not referring to a newspaper. I'm talking about because the newspaper work based on information that have been given to them. That's what I'm saying. That we have realized that most often any group, like maybe the group of separatist fighters, they always try to try to create some funny things to say that the government official, the government defense and security forces want to do this, or the separatist fighter on their part try to do everything possible to try to implicate the government or the government forces on some certain type of funny thing that they are planning to do this without having any concrete proof. When there's something as such, at least we need to keep the blame game aside and look for possible ways of resolving this conflict. All these kind of things will not take us anywhere. If we keep spending our time blaming each other, saying that no, this one is supposed to do this, like what happened in Manfi. Actually, the result is that the hospital was burned to ashes. But we keep saying, this one said that separatist fighters say that no, you are burned by the government force. The government force said that you are burned by separatist fighters. And all this blame game will not help us. But the hospital has been burned.
We have satellites, we have other NGOs, we have other eyes that are on the northwest and southwest. So are we saying that those eyes on the northwest and southwest, they have not been able to dictate who actually carried out the act?
No, well, maybe they are still working to that effect, but until now, I don't think there have been any clear evidence of those who are actually responsible for the act. So we talk with people on the ground.
But there are only two groups. There are only two groups fighting: the separatists and the government.
The separatists and the government. That is true, but sometimes we have been told that there are so many kind of separatists. We have the separatists that really belong to a group like the group of ADF, the group of interim government. We have some special type of separatist fighters that are not known to somehow. Some says that belong to some elites of these regions. Some are being backed by the ministers.
We are so without they are separatists. Now, if you call yourself already a separatist, it means that you are a separatist. Whether you belong to the camp that has
it depends now on their modus operandi, because there are some of these separate group of separatists that the one I'm saying that are special white collar separatists that are doing some funny things or working for special people that are the special people are sponsoring them to be doing things so that they'll be tagging maybe the other separatists, the real separatists, that they are the one responsible for this act. So that's why I said that
donc,
issue of blame game will not take us anywhere.
On se retrouve dans une cacophonie où on a plusieurs groupes appelés séparatistes.
So
actually, that's the reality. Because we have a lot of kidnapping on the field, that people are being kidnapped on daily basis. Whereas most of those that are being that are perpetrating such acts are not even the separatist fighters. So these things are they are not the one doing this. There are a lot of funny things that are happening on the ground. We have some other funny groups. We have other funny groups that are being going. Actually they are thieves, but we have been told that there are some other separatist group that have been created by some elites. As I insist that some elites.
Les séparatistes, les
why would the
elites
elites who are struggling? Why would the elites who are struggling, Gwladys, to fix this problem be creating other groups to tarnish the image of the other camp?
No, it does not only mean that tarnishing the image of the other camp, because no shadow that when this issue is coming more of there are a lot of war
they are not also happy seeing what is happening.
No, sometimes we may pretend in public as like this, but when we go behind, it's not the same thing that we do, because there are a lot of war entrepreneurs that are working, do everything possible to make sure that the crisis is not solved, for them to continue raping or what they are raping as a result of the conflict, because a lot of people are gaining a lot of money from the war. So this kind of people will do everything possible to maintain the status quo so that the problem will not be resolved.
When you burn down the hospital to maintain the status quo, how long do you think it is going to take you to build back the hospital in your community that you are burning down? That is
what we are saying, because if under no circumstances, no reason, there's no justification for burning down a hospital, be it in time of war or in time of conflict. Those are very grievous offenses that should, under normal circumstances, at least we keep praying that when something as such should happen, the government should do everything possible to investigate and arrest the perpetrators of this, so that make sure that they are punished according to the terms of the law.
They have not only committed national
or international law as well.
Yes, they have broken the international law, which means that the international community also has to do something. We have the criminal court, the International Court of Justice, and all those criminal courts in The Hague and whatever. What is it that is not yet ripe for such institutions to come in?
Well, I was saying that it's the rule of the government, part of the right of the rule or the responsibility of the government to make sure that they investigate and arrest and prosecute all these people. Because normally the laws, this is first of all the thing, the conflict happening here in Cameroon is a non-international armed conflict. That's with a conflict within Cameroon. So normally when it is a conflict as such, it is the responsibility of the government of that country to make sure that
we saw that in Rwanda, other countries, and at the end of the day, those people were,
Yes, now I'm saying that the first rule is that it's the responsibility of the government to make sure that all those who are perpetrating such crimes are arrested and prosecuted. It's when the government fail in doing all these now that this international community can come in or whatsoever to make sure that possible these things.
Vous voulez nous faire croire qu'en 5 ans que cette crise est perdue, le gouvernement n'a pas encore échoué?
No, actually, the government has failed in all sense of
Donc,
it. Because when you look when I talk about government arresting, investigating, arresting some of these people.
I know you work closely with the international organization, with the international community. So what is still holding the international community down to come in?
Oh, well, I cannot say exactly what is still holding the international community to come in, because the conflict seems very complex.
Is it their interest?
Oh, I cannot really say whether it's their interest or not.
They know that this territory belongs to this country. And when we talk about international community, we are talking about the US, Russia, France.
Yes, it's true, but I cannot.
And they have their territories already partitioned in Africa. So whatever thing we are saying here, they know that this territory belongs to France. This belongs to UK, so they cannot just come in and.
Yeah, it is true that the United Nations or whatever international community has a lot of role to play with regard to issues and so on. But we keep saying that we don't need to create problems, or when you have problems in our country, keep waiting or relying on the international community to come in. We need to play our own role. The government of Cameroon need to play an active role to make sure that they seek an amicable, a peaceful way out of the conflict. We don't need to keep relying on the international community.
What role do you want the government to play when the people perpetrating the act, most of them are based in those countries that I just cited, in the US, Norway, Belgium, United Kingdom, South Africa? When all these people, they are based in these countries,
No, it doesn't matter of those people based in this country because even in Cameroon, here, the government is not. The government is giving immunity to many people who are committing crimes. In several instances, we have seen the military that have been involved in, have been implicated in cases of direct killing civilians, and the government keeps telling us they are arrested and they are detained up to death for 6 years, 5 years, 4 years. Those military that were informed that they have been arrested
and jailed. We have the Gabo case that is still ongoing at the military tribunal. We had Kumba case, and we have so many other cases.
You can remember, you can bear with me that 2 years ago there was a man that was being tortured by defense and security forces in Donga Matum division. The man was severely being tortured because his brother was a separatist fighter, and the government told us that the defense and security forces were involved in that the issue, were arrested up to date. Not to have said with regard to that. We have so many of such cases. Even the one that we just did what they did in Wum recently in Fungom subdivision, the military, they just told us that arrested the 4 military who killed the nine civilians, and the story will remain the same because this is not the first time. We have more than 1,000 such cases that we have documented, that the government keep telling us that they are very fast to come out and tell us that they have documented, they have arrested all those people and they're under detention pending investigation and trial. But nothing is ever filtered to that effect, apart from the case of Ngambu, where they have to spend 3 or 4 or 5 years. The government is not doing anything. But when it comes to the case of Kumba, that one was
about the issue of collateral damage. In safeguarding territorial integrity, we may have some collateral damages.
Yes, this issue of collateral damage is a completely different thing. That was a different thing. But I'm telling you that this is a case where military defense and security forces are actively involved in act of torture that is prohibited, or they are going about extradition. Let me talk about a good example. The good example of something that happened on the 13th. I think should be on the 13th or the 12th of this month in Dom, where actually in Bamali, where the separatist fighters were targeted by the defense and security forces. They went they called the defense and security forces and told them that there was a separatist fighters in around powerhouse in Bamali. They went there to kill the man, and upon coming there were 2 civilians that were seated beside somehow around the guy side where the guy was seated. The defense and security forces opened the direct bullet. They attempt to target them. The other 2 guys who were there, civilians were there, were shot. One of them died together with the defense, with the separatist fighter in the spot. The only single person who was equally a civilian, that would have all proof that he was a civilian, was taken immediately to the hospital. He was wounded. He was never killed. He was taken to the hospital. The military went to the hospital and removed the guy there and went and executed him at the total station. That one is completely unacceptable. Under no circumstances should the government, should these people do such a thing.
Qu'est-ce que ces messieurs que vous appelez civils faisaient assis avec ce séparatiste?
I'm telling you that you were seated around the area, not that you were seated with him. No, I was not seated with a person. Even if you were seated with a person, my major worries here is that the other person was wounded and was taken to the hospital. The defense and security forces went to the hospital, removed the guy from the hospital, took him to the petrol station in Dom, and executed him. This one is completely unacceptable. Under no circumstances, even if it was separatist fighters, they don't have any right to kill us. Even if when somebody has already been wounded and is either incapable or taken to the hospital or anything as such, there is no other law that permits the government, the defense security forces, or the separatist fighters to kill the person again. I was taken to the hospital by the people who were around the vicinity where the issue happened, the thing happened. So these are the kind of things that we are doing. Very funny thing that government is not in any way respecting the rights of any way.
Vous êtes en train de nous dire sur ce plateau de débrief que les policiers sont entrés dans un hôpital, enlever quelqu'un couché à l'hôpital et l'amener dans une station de pétrole et le faire exécuter au vu de tout le monde.
Ça c'est exactement ce qui s'est passé. Voilà c'est que les sécurités de forces de défense maintain l'ordre.
Has the Ministry of Defense been able to talk about that?
No, they cannot talk about that. When they do outside, they remain silent. So when they
now let's talk about the perpetrators, like the separatist fighter and whatever. Yes. When you come into an area where you have civilians as a fighter and you sit there, or you go and attack and then you run into where the population is, are you still protecting the population, or
it's good
you are not inviting trouble to come?
No, it's good that I say run to where the population is, because when you are on danger, you don't even care which other direction you are taking. The most important thing,
but you are a fighter. How can you say danger?
No, the fighter is running away.
Go on an offensive,
yeah.
And then when you carry out the offensive, you run into where the population is.
You are running through where the population is, not running into where the population is. In particular case, the guy was not running to anywhere. The guy was seated. We informed that the guy was seated somewhere around powerhouse in Bamali in Gwladys division of the Northwest region. So he was not running anyway. It's true that some of the separatist fighters have been running to the population because sometimes maybe they don't have any other direction to take than to run to where they think they can be, they too can be safe. Because even the defense and security forces, when the separatist fighters surprise them, some of them even run to any direction. So all of this is all the same. So each and every one want protection. But the most important thing is all these killings, without killing separatist fighters, killing the defense and security force or civilians will not take us anywhere. These are Cameroonians that are being killed on daily basis, and this the lives of every Cameroonian too matters. At least government should do everything possible to collaborate with international and international partners for them to seek amicable ways out of this conflict, because this violence will not take us anywhere. We keep regretting on daily basis, and so many kind of things will need to keep happening. If this crisis is not resolved as soon as possible, don't be surprised that in the days ahead we'll have more cases that will be worse than the ones that were witnessed before.
Okay, so what is the way forward, Amadou? Every day we keep saying the same thing. We are talking, we are turning around the same table, and nothing is happening.
I'm telling you that we have been given a lot of recommendations with regard to possible ways out of this conflict to the government. And the first thing, some of the recommendations we made was that we are insisting that the government of Cameroon should do everything possible, particularly the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Justice, to do everything possible to make sure that all those who have been arrested and detained in connection with the
from the perspective of a human rights defender,
yes,
that they should arrest them.
No,
what about the politicians? What about the political solution? You are only focusing on those committing the atrocities, that they should be arrested. What about the solution?
No, I'm not saying that they should be arrested. This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the person that have disappeared on thin air. That was saying that the Minister of Justice to do everything possible to make sure they publish the list of all those who have been arrested and detained in connection with the ongoing crisis, to make sure for family members to know, to check and know if some of them. There are a lot of people that have disappeared ever since the crisis started. So the people don't even know whether they are still alive or dead. So that's why I was recommending to the Minister of Justice, as we say, and we're equally saying that the government should do everything. Government, the national and international partners do everything possible to facilitate an intra-Anglophone dialogue. That's a dialogue within the different stakeholders in the Anglophone, whether those who are involved directly on the conflict or those who are involved indirectly, so that they can look for a possible swift terrain for them to choose their leaders and make recommendation that they will take to the negotiation table when the right time comes. But we believe that no matter how long this war will take, there surely will become a day when the people will sit down and look for amicable ways out of this conflict.
What should we be negotiating? On which table and where?
The issue is that we keep saying that we should be negotiating on a table. We should talk yes, by who? That's why I said that we need all the stakeholders that are directly involved in this conflict, or directly or indirectly. Because if the government solve the problem today only with those that are holding arms, tomorrow those of us who are not holding arms will have to maybe take our own arms to make sure that they solve our own problems. So the government is do possible to involve all the stakeholders, be it the civil society, be it the political actors, and those that are holding arms, to make sure that they take them on the dialogue table in a neutral ground out of Cameroon, possible out of Cameroon, any other country that may think that those separatist leaders too, they might be safe to go there and look for amicable ways on the dialogue table with the presence of a third party mediator to look for amicable ways of solving this problem, so that our people they should be returned to normalcy in this region. Our people have been suffering for so long, so many times, and so quite a long time, and the issue continues. The things keep worsening. The media, most often, the media is not longer, let me say, reporting most of this thing, because a lot of things are even those who are giving the information, they are the ones that are tired. Not that the media is the one that's tired, because those giving the information, they are tired. They thought that maybe when you give information today, tomorrow,
we go in search of information. How can you say today?
No, I'm talking about those who are on the ground.
We will still dig and get the information.
Yeah, dig and get the information, but we are not getting most of those things that are happening. Most of those things that are happening are underreported, because we depend on information to work to that effect. But if we don't have that information, will not be able to say exactly what is happening.
Those are giving information in
these regions. Yes,
they are tired to give.
They are tired of giving information. So they thought that maybe they will give 1, 2, twice, and the solution will come, and they will go out of this mess. So they keep giving.
You visit the Northwest and Southwest a lot. When last did you go to the Northwest?
No, I'm always there, so I cannot disclose. For security reasons, I cannot disclose whether I'm still to go, or I'm about going, or I was there. Because for security reasons, we cannot. There are some of the things that we go in a special style.
When you look at your region or your village, because I know you go to your village. When you look at your village now, you compare it to what the village was 5 years ago. Are you happy with what you see now?
Actually, I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. There's no reason for me to be happy, because I keep seeing my own people being killed on a daily basis. How you keep seeing dwellings, because about 2 weeks ago, even the defense and security forces, in search of armed separatists, entered my own village, and they end up burning 2 houses and killing a civilian that was coming back from the market. So these are some of the effects. So some of these things that cannot make me happy. Defense and security forces within that area, especially within the Babisi subdivision, the commander of the Gendarmerie Brigade there, is making a lot of money from coming and arresting my own people and asking for ransom on daily basis. So tell me how are we happy for all
a
these
security
things?
agent asking for ransom.
That's what they have been going on.
Are you having proof of that?
I'm telling you that I've been calling them on regular basis. We talk with them with some of these people there before 2, 3 or years before and all today.
They are supposed to protect people, but you are saying that
is the
they
principle.
are taking people and asking
for ransom. Yes, they come and formulate all kinds of politics. They take they pay people.
What you say, ransom?
Ransom. That's the people pay money for them to be released. So they take them there for no other. Sometimes they just claim that we are told that you are working in collaboration with separatist fighters. They take you there. They end up when you go there, they start asking for money. And there are a lot of cases that we have been contacted. The hierarchy, you have to call them to put pressure for them people to be released.
Ils viennent attraper les gens et disent que ces gens-là travaillent avec des séparatistes. Et pour qu'on les libère, il faille que les.
No, that was an indirect way of pretending. They to keep try to formulate an allegation on that person to tell the person that you are not arrested, because normally the law says that when you arrest somebody.
Have you actually, taken time to really find out if those people are actually working with the separatists? Because Nsungkikang seems to be the most stubborn, one of the most stubborn areas where you have separatist activities, and the people seem to be afraid. They cannot speak up or to denounce or say what is happening in their community.
No, the most important thing in a social assault is your own safety and security first. You want to do everything possible to make sure that you are safe. But most of those are arrested. We have contacted their hierarchy in Yaoundé, and they have called on several occasions to put pressure before these people are released. People that are not, some of the people, they arrest them, go with them there, they start asking for money. We are informed that they're asking for money. We're informed that they're asking for money. My boss called on several occasions. He called the commander of the brigade. I talked with the commander. The commander told him that there is nothing he can say here if he's not on the ground. If you want to say something, you want to investigate on what is happening, he should come to the Gendarmerie, and he's behind. He's asking 200,000, 300,000, 150,000 from them. So there are some of the cases that when he was asking about the money, we text him. We called him. I was no longer picking. We text him and told him that we are aware that he's asking for money. So the next day we informed the hierarchy. They contacted the man, and he freed all those guys as fast as possible, because they know what they are doing. They are playing games. They keep taking 50, 10, 5, 7 people on a regular basis, taking them there to pay money, 25,000, 50,000.
Who is interested in seeing this conflict not coming to an end?
These war entrepreneurs, that's what I'm saying, because these are kind of war entrepreneurs.
The war entrepreneurs are on both sides.
On both sides, they are on both sides, because there are some separatists who are kidnapping people too. The real separatists, the one that are claiming to be real separatists, are kidnapping people for ransom. But in that, not within that my own village, we have people that are being kidnapped on regular basis. Many money is being paid abroad to those separatist leaders. So it's not something strange. So these separatist fighters, most of them are doing the same thing.
Why is the international community still silent? The people are residing in those countries and they are paying ransom to abroad. Even when Senator Regina Mundi was released, we had other separatist fighters coming up to cry that they missed a woofing sum of 80 million. It was supposed to be paid in ransom. Some of them came up. Why are these countries still hosting these people who are championing what we are having in the Northwest and Southwest?
No, this is what I keep saying, that these people hosting people, because these people have the right to seek asylum. Because first of all, you know that they are doing the same thing that is being done by the government. Our government, the defense and security forces, are doing the same thing, or our government is backing the same issue. Because you have people that are here in Cameroon that are standing within the rank of the government or the defense and security forces that are supposed to arrest it. If the government cannot play it on part here, they should not expect the international community or the foreign country to do the same thing. How many people have been arrested? We have different people here, defense and security forces, who are doing a lot of terrible things that the government need to arrest and prosecute them. So if our government within our own country here, we are unable to solve our own problems, how can we be expecting the international community, other people to come in and solve our problem? At least it's true that this work in partnership.
But there are some information that is supposed to be classified for state secrets. When they do this thing, they don't need to come and tell the public.
No, classified in which way? How are we going to be aware that you have been punishing some of those people who are responsible for such acts? So when you do something, that's why we want that the government should make sure that they communicate to Cameroonians, tell Cameroonians whatsoever they are doing, because they have
maybe sometimes they have a time that they will declassify those information for public consumption.
It's true that there might be some information that should be classified, but when it concerns this crisis, especially when it comes to
for morals of the military on the ground that are fighting, so that they don't get discouraged, they do that and they classify the information.
They cannot be dissatisfied the military to to endanger the life of Cameroonian or to imperil justice or whatsoever. So what we wonder is that when any of them do anything that is not right, that is against the law, the government should make sure that any such person is investigated, and arrested, and prosecuted accordingly. It will scare others, because when the government remains silent, when military go about killing people, burning houses like that, it gives the impetus for others to keep on going doing the same thing, because they know that they have impunity. If my other colleague did the same thing and was not polished, or were not polished, and today I'm doing the same thing, I'm very sure that I will not be punished as well. So you just go about.
Amadou Tante, you guys have been investigating and denouncing. Are you stating here on this platform that there have been cases where the military walked into a village, started burning down houses for no just cause? Is that what they are saying?
No, what is there is that they burned it for no just cause. What is there is that they claim that these people are harboring, some of the harboring separatists, or they just go sometimes out of frustration. They don't go about and kill anybody they see on their way, or burn any house out or they see on their way. Sometimes they are attacked in some of these villages. They are attacked by the separatist fighters, and in an attempt to put their anger, they decide to pour their anger on the population. They go about burning houses, saying all type of funny things.
In cases where the population don't want to collaborate,
I'm telling you that the first thing, I told you that the first thing is for safety and security. I cannot come here and tell you that I want to see your boss. I know that I want to, if you don't show me your boss, I will kill you. You know that if you don't show me your boss, I will kill you. And you go out, you refuse that you don't show me your boss. If you know where the person is, you must do everything possible to show the person.
So if I don't know, if
you don't know, then either prove to them that you don't know, or they kill you. So that's the thing. I will talk about the security and safety of the people on the ground first.
À la fin, on parle ici de la sécurité des populations, les populations qui sont abandonnées à elles-mêmes, qui sont entre le marteau et l'enclume dans cette partie du pays.
Exactly. But that's why we keep saying that even the government, I don't know if the government is tired or what, because the population are not being protected. The same population that are also protected. Because the separate fighters on their part claim that they are protecting the population. Sometimes they are kidnapping them for ransom. They are doing so type of punishing them. That's what I'm saying. So that's what they are doing. So I'm telling that none of them, be the separate fighters or the defense and security forces, protecting the population on the ground. Mais qu'est-ce que la population doit donc faire? Parce que si vous dites, Amadou Tante, que les forces de sécurité ne protègent plus les populations, les séparatistes qui disent se battre pour les populations ne protègent plus les populations, que doivent faire les populations? Est-ce qu'elles doivent laisser...
Should they rise against these two,
ou est-ce qu'elles doivent laisser
qu'on les écrase? They are calling them evils. Should the population rise against these two evils in court?
I hope we saw what happened on the 16th of June in Dongaman in Lu, when alleged two armed militia, the state of armed militia, Fulani armed militia killed some two civilians, and the population. That's why the population raised and went to the SDO office, telling the SDO office to disarm those armed militia, because so there are some people being informed that some of those armed militia, they are being armed by the government to work in collaboration with them in targeting the separatist fighter, but they go around killing innocent civilians, but yet the government is doing little or nothing to that effect. So the population can only do what they did, like they did in a few days ago. Right? They tell them that we don't want this. It's happening in so many places, but yet nothing concrete is doing. At least we have a way of resolving the crisis on all these regions, in the Anglophone, all these Anglophone regions, not within a particular subdivision or within a particular division or within a particular village. So the only way out is to solve the problem in the entire two regions concerned.
Ok, Amadou Tante, nous n'allons pas quitter ce studio sans parler du carton rouge du Qatar. Hein? La nouvelle expression nous en parle ce matin. Pas de relations sexuelles hors mariage au Qatar 2022. C'est passible d'emprisonnement jusqu'à 7 ans d'emprisonnement.
Well, the issue is that I cannot really say something much because I've not read exactly to know the reason why they are saying such a thing. Because I don't know.
It's in law.
If that law is against international law, I don't think it should be. It's not a law that should be respected. Yes, I'm a Muslim. Being a Muslim doesn't mean that there are some certain things that the Islamic thing may say that it's against the law that will not be respected.
Est-ce que tout le monde qui vient
you have right? Sexual intercourse is a right. You should know that it's a right. So
sexual intercourse is a right. But you have to do it responsibly.
Responsibly, yes. Because when they are saying that anybody will do any such thing will send to prison or given 7 years in prison out there with that thing, maybe they say that those are doing it irresponsibly, because doing it irresponsibly is a right and a decent way.
We are legal partner. There's no problem.
Il parle de relations sexuelles hors mariage.
Consent, when you consent, there's consent between the two partners, whether you are partners or you are not partners. They have international laws, but not national laws are applicable only within
their fears may be with their own.